Hey y'all, happy Thursday. If you're tuning in right now, this is a newer live stream that I'm trying out where I chat with people about open source and AI. Normally I do TBD TV where we talk about like self-sovereign identity, but I still want to get a little bit deeper into AI. Today in particular, we're going to be talking about a project called Goose, which is developed by Block. And we're actually going to talk about how Mick, who's my boss's boss, has actually developed a couple of things on top of that, like a GitHub Action, a VS Code extension. So I'm really excited to dive into that. So hey Mick, how you doing?
Hey,
All
I'm
right,
great.
that's good. All right, so I'm gonna ask you a bit of a question that's not really on the list, but it's not gonna be hard for you, I don't think. I normally have been asking people this since it's October and Halloween is coming up. And my question is, do you have any like favorite candy that other people kind of hate, but you like?
Uh, yeah, I mean, there was one here. It's hard to get now called Polly Waffle Bliss Bombs,
What's
which
that?
was like it's like a chocolate coated marshmallow with something crunchy in it, and I think it was around since like the 60s or something, and they discontinued it like 10, 15 years ago, and there was a big rush to buy it. And now you can get it in like sort of the bag form with little bites, but it used to be a chocolate bar, and but it obviously wasn't very popular because it went out of
Oh,
style. But whenever I find it in the bag form, I love it, and that's the so maybe I'll get some of that for Halloween. That's
yeah.
like some people called it like the dinosaur of chocolate.
What?
It was very old. One of the in Australia, at least one of the oldest,
Oh
chocolate
wow.
bars or candy bars as you call it. We don't say candy is like boiled sugar to us, so candy bar would be
It's like chocolate
yeah,
bar only. It
yeah, yeah.
sounds good. I don't know why. I mean, it sounds kind of like s'mores. I don't know why.
Yeah, it actually does taste a lot like s'mores, like a
Okay.
little bit less on the biscuit, the crunch, the cookie, but the yeah, that's a
Okay.
lot like that.
Cool. I like a lot of gross candies. Like I like this candy called spearmint leaves. People don't like it. It's like this. It's a chewy candy that tastes like mint. But anytime I buy it, everyone's like, "Ew, why are you eating that?" I'm like, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I can relate to that. Like mint stuff is polarized. You can say, "Well, isn't that toothpaste?" But someone
Yeah.
decided that mint. Someone decided once that mint meant fresh. I don't know how that happened, but like we someone decided mint means fresh. Like you can't think of anything else. So yeah,
I agree. That Tanya said, I love candy bars.
yeah.
My friend Tim is bringing me Tim Tams
Tim
from
Tams.
Australia. Ooh, don't know
Yeah.
what those are. And
Oh,
then
you can. There's shops in the US that have them. Yeah, they're like a chocolate coated, chocolate cookie, but like with a thin layer of chocolate in the middle. And yeah, they're really good. I highly recommend them. And
ooh, it's giving I'm not Tic Tac. It's giving Kit Kat. And then also hi to Tech NFA. How you doing? All right. So why don't you go ahead and let's dive into a little bit more. So one thing I wanted to ask you, right, is like you were a co-founder of CloudBees for the last 2 years. I mean, and but for the last 2 years, you've been at
mhm.
Block. And I'm just wondering, like, what do you think led you from CloudBees to TBD for the last 2 years?
Yeah, I mean it's a long story, so I'll abbreviate it. But Cloudbees is a developer tools company, and we started that back in 2010, or started thinking about it in 2009, actually, when cloud was taking off, like platform as a service cloud stuff. I was a huge fan of Google App Engine. I think the day I got access to it, I deployed some code on the train in like 2008 and fell in love. But it wasn't kind of usable in the enterprise. So I was at Red Hat, and I wanted to use more of cloud stuff. So went and started this company, and then we sort of pivoted in different directions, and then went in the developer tools direction. And probably the biggest thing we're known for was the was Jenkins and CI/CD. So we did a lot of that in the cloud early on. So it was all developer tools, and then I knew Block, or Square as they were, and was friendly with a lot of the people that built Cash App early on, and sort of would keep in touch and give referrals. That's probably why there's a lot of Australians around. partly. And
There's a
and
ton.
then 2 years ago, it's like I just felt like it had changed, and I talked to a bunch of people at Block and TBD, and it felt like everyone I talked to was way smarter than me. So I wanted to work with people that were smarter than me and learn from them in a different area. And so I thought, why not? I didn't really have a grand plan, and just kind of fell into that. And I was fascinated by decentralized identity and verifiable credentials in particular. Like, seemed like a really gnarly problem. That was something that I had put not a lot of thought into. So I thought, why not? I like learning new stuff. So yeah, and but yeah, developer tools and stuff like that has kind of been hovering around my career, since the 2000s. So.
Love that journey of how you fell into that. And then now I have a question too. You're like pretty much like, I would call you like, I don't know, like a hobbyist of AI. I don't know how
Yeah,
you
I
title
dilettante or enthusiast. Yeah, I
enthusiast.
think I even put
Yeah.
my yeah. I've always been fascinated from it. In fact, even before the cloud, early in my career, I did a lot of rule engine stuff. That's sort of how I got a bit of my break in career. And rule engine is like a leftover from the really old, before my time, even 80s sort of AI rush. And then there was what they call an AI winter after that. Well, there's been a few AI winters, but rule engines or inference engines came out of that, and they were still in use. Like, they were used in the medical domain, and I knew some of the stuff I built was used to analyze ice cores in Antarctica. I thought that was super cool. Um, and so I was always fascinated with this idea of computers just thinking a little bit more and being a little bit less predictable. And then I got interested in neural networks a little bit before deep learning, and I even tried a little startup to do with that, to do with alerting and monitoring thousands of metrics at the same time and learning, and didn't really go anywhere. But in the meantime, the whole deep learning thing, thanks to Google and others, took off. So I sort of kept one eye on that and made use of things, lots of open source, TensorFlow, PyTorch, and that. But I never really got that into it. It was a little bit dry to me. Until someone one day, many years ago, said, "Oh, you got to check out this GPT thing." And I thought, "Oh, what is this, waste of time?" And so I downloaded an early version of GPT-2 and used it with my son to create historical fan fiction from it, which I thought was fascinating. It's like, I don't know what this has to do with anything I would use for work, but I'll keep an eye
That's
on it. And then I just got fascinated from there. So I just kept dabbling with it, I guess. Enthusiast. It's like I do this stuff, a lot of it for fun, often in my own time, and I should get a different hobby, but yeah, it's what it is.
it's a good hobby. It's a hobby with some money at the end of it. So I
It
don't
does. I mean, it's the last few jobs I've had have come out of side projects or hobbies that I did in my own time for fun, including my involvement in rules was a evenings and weekends project for a while, and then I got offered to work on it full time, which was wonderful. But of course, when you take something that's for fun and you do it full time, then sometimes it does get hard work. But that's so yeah, it's good, but it's good to enjoy what you can do for work. That's always good.
Yeah. And now that we kind of talked about your background and why you're interested in AI and all that, I have a question for you, right? So, Goose is pretty new. It came out maybe two
Mm-hmm.
months ago, and Block created it. I'm curious, like, how would you describe it for like someone coming in? They're like, "What is this?" How would you
Yeah,
describe?
so yeah, it's like a programmer's agent or an engineer's agent that runs on your machine. So it'll run on your machine, and because it's an agent, it'll run commands for you. Like, you'll talk to it in, obviously, natural language or various forms of input. I think someone even has it where you can talk to it, um, and then it will take action on that. So it might be writing code, it might be executing code, changing code, running tests, making mistakes, fixing itself, even installing tools for you. I sometimes use it to help configure my system to fix it up, because maybe my Artifactory wasn't set up right for work or something. So yeah, it's kind of a very resident on your machine, and that's kind of a thing. It's an agent. That's how I'd describe it. And you can use it, like you would use ChatGPT or something as well. That's how I got into it. I would copy and paste from ChatGPT or Copilot Chat or even Cursor. But the thing I was missing was that I would take the code, do something, and it wouldn't work, and then I'd copy and paste errors. Like I'd be like, the old Google the error message, and I'm like, why am I Googling the error message, or why am I like, can't something else do it for me? And then I came across Goose, and it's like, oh, this is actually designed to do that. And it wasn't originally designed to be like, it was more designed to do migrations and things like that. It was a tool built for sort of some specific projects. I don't know the exact history of it, but yeah, it was like to migrate, things from this to that, and then run the tests, and then make some small changes, and then repeat. And then, but I saw something in that was like, hey, this is what I've been looking for. If it didn't exist, I would have built it for the Hack Week we had a few months ago. But I discovered it and thought it was pretty cool, and then had fun with it ever since.
I did not know it was originally made for migration. Wow, like that's really cool that it's had that evolution over time. Oh wait, I'm curious too. I think you kind of talked about it, but you're a head of engineering, so maybe you're not necessarily. Well, I see you're in the weeds a lot, but most head of engineers are not. So, what has this really enabled for you? Like Goose has enabled for you, from the role of a head of engineering.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing was it would let me, because when you're working at a high level, you often you don't have time to go deep on specific things. You'll be looking across different projects and leveling down to level up, as some people say. And so you want to quickly navigate to the interesting stuff that you need to look at. And I was often looking for tools that would help me navigate code, and I would use some tools to do that. I would just ask them questions, or I even had a script that would like take a bunch of code in a repo, roll it all up into a big long file, and then send it to ChatGPT, and I'd ask questions. And that was very clumsy and manual. That was before other tools came sort of on the market to help. So that was the first case. And then I realized, I could actually look at some of these small issues or things that people have struggled with that I might know how to help out with. Maybe pull off a ticket to work on, or just try an idea that's like, well, will this thing work? It might be easier to try something than it is to explain it. And then it's just kind of in my nature to experiment. It's just I like to, if there's an idea or something, I like to see if you can show some of it versus write a document about it. Sometimes that's not the right thing to do. Sometimes it's better to think, but that's just my approach. Is like, I like to, to me, the ultimate truth in software is the source code. That is the design, is running source code. Like anything else is like, kind of gets in the way. It's like, I think software is amazing in the fact that we can just change our mind. We can undo things at any point in time. So I like to speak in terms of code where I can. So any tool that helps me, do a bit of that at a high level without, spending too much time is really good. So, and then it's like hobby projects as well. I always do that. So that's
Yeah,
and it's hard to tell where hobby ends and work begins. So.
And I feel like it's good that you stay in the know. I feel like a lot of like directors or head of engineering or whatever, they often kind of like are not in the weeds of what their employees are doing. So then they'll try to hop in and then they'll mess up the whole code base, and you're like, oh my God, you're more annoying than helpful.
Yeah, I'm sure I'm more than capable of annoying people. That's certainly true. And but yeah, I think especially in a software organization, most people should have enough curiosity to keep technical, even if you're not in the weeds or you haven't been for a while. I don't think it's these days. It's not hard to get up to speed with things. You've got tools to help you. You can have conversations with tools like ChatGPT or Claude to help you get up to speed and learn something new. Like there's no limit to what you can or can't do. Obviously there's different hats you have to put on. There's always people issues and organizational things and spreadsheets and stuff, but even that you can sometimes apply code to. Like I like using Goose to analyze spreadsheets, to calculate, summarize survey data or something like that. So it's fun to use it that way. So.
I never thought of it that way. All right, so now that we know all that, why don't you built a couple of cool projects. Oh, no, I'm not. Angie said I'm like dragging you. No, you're also someone that is very like
No,
weeds.
she get no. Angie gets in the weeds too, and she
Yeah.
drags me into the weeds. Like I know when we were doing it was over a year ago. Early versions of chat with the website, sort of chat with the doc stuff. Now you can buy something off the shelf, but then you couldn't. She kept pushing me to maybe you could do it like this, or maybe you could make it stream like that. And I didn't know how to do that, but it's like she was like just pushing a bit further, and I like that. So because she was like in the weeds, so yeah.
Yeah, you're in the weeds, Angie. I'm thinking of past jobs where I don't want to put them on blast, but yeah. Okay, why don't you show us your first some of the projects you made? One of them, I don't know what's the first one you're going to show us. Is it the VS Code extension?
Yeah, I'll show the VS Code. So I just made an empty directory here, and then I've just opened VS Code in it.
Okay.
So so this is running the Goose agent. When you start up VS Code with the Goose agent, it runs the agent, and it's basically running in a terminal. So it just sits down here. So there's lots of ways to interact with it, but it's essentially just a command line. So I'm going to what I'm going to do is tell it to make a web app that does something, and then we'll see how it goes, and maybe you get an idea from that. So this will come up with a plan. Like I gave it some initial instructions to kick off a project. It'll come up with a plan and then execute on it. And you can see over here, it's creating stuff on the fly. 99% of the time, I'm not doing this with Goose. Mostly it's like existing code. So I'm working on something existing, but sometimes it's fun to have it do something new. I don't really know much about, I don't even know how to say it, Byte, but I saw other people using it, and
I don't know.
it sounded cool. So I thought, why not? So it's writing code. You can see it in this little window down here. It's updating the status, and at some point it'll return back to me with, I think I'm ready, and then I can run it, or I can have it run it and see how it goes, and then we'll take some other actions on it. So it's now I'm going to try running it, and then it'll probably work out. It'll probably tell me that I need to run it or something. So let's have a look at what it's created. It's created a bunch of files. It's installed stuff. All right, so it's just telling me to run that. So I can run that in a separate terminal. I'm going to do that actually because it's a bit polite. So I'll just copy that command. And I'm going to run it there.
And any tips you would? Oh no, never mind. That makes sense. Why you?
Sorry.
Would do it. I was going to ask why would you run it in a separate terminal, but that makes sense.
You can. Yeah, I think I can tell it to run it, and it will run it in the background and for me. But I thought, for the demo, it's like this is just a regular app. I'm not doing anything special, so I'm just going to open the simple browser here, and yeah, and then okay, I've got it going there. Okay, so it's got something working there in the browser. Sorry, it's a little bit crowded. And I'll go back to Goose over here. And has it got any? It's got a count. So it doesn't have a lot of functionality yet. So I've got to. So I'm going to tell it to write some more code. Oh, it's already done it. Okay. Maybe I can't see it. So what I'm going to do is so it's already got it. It's told me it's already there. It's like, where is the button? Let's find the button. So where does it put it? I'm gonna tell it.
Yeah. What if?
Well, I could actually I can edit code here,
okay.
Or I can ask Goose to explain code or fix it. So this is what the extension can do. Like you can interact with code, or you could just chat with it down here. So mostly I chat with it, but you can, if you know where in the code you want to do something, you can sort of direct it and tell it.
Okay.
But what I'm going to tell it is,
Yeah, make it a little darker for us. Screen readable.
I'll see if that works. Use contrast to your word. So it's able to look at the screen and then, analyze yeah, there we go. Did a bit of a better job. That looks better.
Yeah, now we can read it.
So then it's and then you can actually have it run tests. So does it have any tests? It doesn't have tests. It's not very good.
Any?
Right. So I'll have it, add some test scripts to it. So we'll see if that actually works. It'll add jest and start running it. And testing that's the other key thing with Goose. Like you can use it to do fun and visual stuff like this. You can have it look at your screen and adjust stuff, but where it really shines is more when it's iterating. Like if it makes a mistake, it'll correct itself, change some code, run the tests over and over until it gets it right. And it's would you like to proceed with running a full test? No, that's fine. Well, it's probably running some basics. I don't want to actually spend time running unit tests. I'm lazy. I'll do that later. But I could, let's say it should be in here, I think, shouldn't it?
The button for the upload?
The button for upload. Yeah, where's the upload? It's
Can
like,
we ask it? Where to put
yeah,
it?
well, I'll tell it here. It's like, it's the count. Like I'll go ask Goose here and go, so I'll ask it and it'll probably go and add it. So it's looking at the code because yes, of course, and run the tests. So then, it sort of learns how you work. It keeps a session. So, as you tell it to have the test loop, it doesn't really have much tests yet. So yeah, so it's claims it's added an upload button. So let's see if there is one.
Maybe it's in the. Oh, there it
There it
is.
is.
Okay.
Yep. So, I mean, that's the VS Code extension. Like, it's fairly lightweight. Like most of the time, you don't see it. It's just, if you're in the code, let's look at this here. Like, you can ask it questions, relative to that context. You can highlight text and, or if there's a bug, you could ask Goose to fix it. Just like you can with Copilot. Actually, I've got a bunch of different tools. I love all the tools. I install them all.
Yeah.
I use them all. They're all great. So yeah, you can ask it to fix things as you go. You can have it complete things. But its real thing is it's more of an agent, so it's going to be longer running tests and so on, which I'll show in the next one. So yeah, I guess that's kind of the VS Code thing. It's an extension that works in any VS Code compatible editor, and there's not really any configuration. If I go,
could we ask Goose to fix the test since it's? Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
It takes you off track.
Yeah. What test do you want? Like,
it looks like it's saying like expect is not defined and test not defined. I want to just see if
I think that's my VS Code. Yeah.
Okay, I thought it didn't import.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah. I haven't done this before.
Yeah, I'm like, can it even tell that VS Code?
Yeah, it's so in this case.
Oh, take a screenshot.
It doesn't want to take a screenshot.
Oh, yeah.
There we go. It's like it's being lazy. So there we go. So hopefully it'll see that, and then so yeah, I could iterate. Yeah, there we go. That looks a bit better. So now it's making some other adjustments, and let's come back to that, but we'll see.
We still fixed in the beginning.
Yeah, test is not defined. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, usually I'm on an existing code that has a VS config or something. So there's probably some missing config or a plugin installed. Sometimes eventually it will work it out. It's like no,
that was
I am
cool to
still.
see the screenshot.
Yeah, it will make changes. So or I could ask Goose to fix it here or explain it. I don't think. Yeah, I wonder what. I think it's something to do with my environment. Doesn't
Oh,
it
I
hasn't?
thought you had to import the test endings.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's running the test, so it's must be able to work somehow. So, but yeah, that's kind of it for the VS Code thing. You can interact down here, or most often people interact up here. Like you kind of, you're asking Goose up there, like that, and you're telling it to do something, and then you let it go and do something while you browse around something else, and so on, and it tries to keep track of, and it'll make changes across multiple files and stuff. It looks at the whole project, the whole system. It's not kind of confined. Like
Yeah.
it tries to keep the edits focused, but it's unlike something like Copilot where it's more narrowly focused to the file you're in. Goose looks at the whole project and tries to navigate, and like its whole aim is to get something working for what it considers success.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've been liking that about Goose and Cursor as well. Let's take a look at your GitHub action then.
Yeah. Let's kill this one. I'm going to bring this down. Now just let me make the browser bigger and zoom in a bit. Is this big enough for you?
Let's ask the chat, especially Angie, but I would say you could do a little bit more. Just like a little. Okay, that's good, I think. Okay, cool.
All right, so there's a GitHub action on the marketplace called Goose AI Developer Agent that you can look up. It's a lucky version 13 right now. That's alpha. That's kind of doing the same thing that you just saw, but in like a hands-off way, and also, probably more importantly for some people, I don't know if you picked up before, but it's like running commands on my system, which is very scary for some people, rightly so. Like,
Yeah.
do you trust that it's making changes? Ideally, you want to review the pull requests. So this one will just run run by GitHub in Actions isolated. So maybe the best example is to show it in action. So I've got a fork of an open source repo called DidPay, and I copied a bunch of issues across with it, which I don't know if you or someone tagged them for Hacktoberfest.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was testing some of them out to see if it could fix them, and a lot of them it could. So here's one. This is a good one. So this is an issue that has some sort of a stack trace with it, which is always nice if it's going to be a automated fix. So if the way it works is there's a
You
GitHub label,
it. Oh,
and so
then
I've unlabeled it just
label?
to reset it, and then what I'm going to do is label it again with Goose, and so the Goose tag shows up. I removed it and added it. And what will happen is behind the scenes, there is an action that fires up to try and apply the fix. So let's watch the action. So this is actually running Goose. There's no interaction here. The only interaction is typing it into the issue. So it's called Goose Enhance is the action, and it's a GitHub action you can put in your workflows. So
could I see the steps it's going through?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yep. So now it's setting up the project. It's running Goose, and it's doing a bunch of setup, preparing Goose. Goose AI is actually the name of the package in Python. A bunch of installing things that probably will be cached one day. blah, blah,
This
blah.
is cool.
And
I
then,
kind of made something like this for Hacktoberfest. So I like that. Like, I made something that, like, not necessarily Goose, but like you add a label, it automates, it triggers it,
mhm,
does some stuff after
yeah,
it. So that's cool.
that's
Sorry.
right. Yeah, so this is just triggered off a label, but you could trigger it off anything. It's just the recommended default workflow that I put is like so it knows how to, it reads the issue, comes up with a plan, it'll keep, track, and it's told to try a few different times, a few different ways to iterate. And then each time it tries, it knows how to run the tests to verify if its fix is legitimate. And it's only if it succeeds, then it will open a pull request. So if it's able to succeed with this one, it'll open a pull request. So I'll let that cook for a minute. Let's look at another issue.
Okay.
This is one I made up because I thought it would be cool. I literally, one of the ways I sometimes actually use this for fun is like I'll have a project of mine and I'll have an idea and I'll just put it as a GitHub issue and tag it. And then, while I'm out walking the dogs or something, and then if it can write some code, I end up with a pull request and I can use it or not. So this was one that's like, oh yeah, I want to add biometrics to this to lock it and unlock it. So I will, again, tell Goose to try that. This is like a feature rather than a bug.
This is really cool. That, like, if Goose could do this, wow.
Yeah, it's I know it's done it because it's done it before. So, but but I'll have it do it again. And then if this one, yeah, you can see it's iterating again. It's made some mistakes. It's got to fix itself up and run the tests again, and eventually it will get through if it succeeds. So you don't really see anything until some point in the future you get a pull request. So likewise with this one, it's investigating. So let's click into it. Yeah, again, it's just doing a bunch of GitHub Action stuff. So the actual meat of it's fairly small. Once it gets to it, you just see this little
Does
status
it
report.
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say, does it print out what you would see in Goose? But yeah, we see that right here.
Yeah, it does. You see it here. Yeah. Um, I'm not really great with GitHub Actions. I
Mm.
use Goose to do these GitHub Actions. So yeah, it's made a mistake. So it's across. So it's going to iterate and try and fix it. But yeah, if I I think there's the idea of a reusable workflow which breaks it down into more visual steps. That would
Yeah.
probably be nicer because at the moment it's all runs in this one sort of monolithic step with the little spinny thing,
Yeah.
beautifully animated. So yeah, you just have to watch the log. Likewise for this one. So it's it's adding a dependency in this case. It's using Flood as the framework used. Uh,
Interesting.
and the reason Goose knows how this works is because in the root of this project, I just put a little tiny file called Goose Hints. This just helps it out. So I just told it what it is and look at the README, because in this case, the README was reasonably helpful. It's not always, but you might have a contributing.md, or you might just put the instructions in here. So, and I told it, it's using a just file, which is like a make file, but apparently cooler. And so that's how it gets that. It loves this sort of feedback loop, as do we all. When we're developing code, it's nice to have that little feedback loop. So Goose likes that as well. So you
Yeah.
can see it's all right. So now it's building it and testing it. It's gotten past it and
I,
running the final unit tests for the physical device fix, and
yeah.
then
I have
hopefully
a
we end up with a pull
question
request.
on the hints, right? So I've learned about hints, and I mean, other people probably haven't, but there's
Mm-hmm.
hints, Goose hints, and then there's the plan, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's like adding in a toolkit. I'm
Mm-hmm.
curious, like, how will you, like, which different use cases will you use which one for? Like, just so people will know, because this is probably the
Yeah,
first hint.
for most users, like I just use it as is, and then just a hints file. In fact, you could, when I used Goose before in VS Code, I usually tell it, can you make a hints file for me? If it's a new project, just to keep a record of, for future, or a README. So you can see this one succeeded and it opened a pull request. So if I go back to if I go back to the issues and the physical device fix, we'll see there's a pull request down here, which was,
Ooh.
and you can see, it's made a fairly modest change there, which you can iterate on. You could take it, you could leave it. Sometimes I would edit the issue and then give it some more clarity, and then just tell it to kick off again. And just to show you it's real, like this one's actually failed. So it's failed it's given up. It won't run forever, which is something people were worried about because it is, using resources behind the scenes. So it's like, yeah, it hasn't worked this time. So I could just tell it to start again. I probably won't in this case. I'll show it in a different way, but I know it's worked before. Sometimes I'll tell it to try a few times. Let's go back to the issue for this one. Issues. So, yeah, okay. So it did one. When did I try it? 2 weeks ago. So this is what it looks like if it did fix with this feature. So it actually opened the pull request links to the issue, and it actually had to make quite a few changes in this case. So it's used the biometric stuff, added a dependency, did all this. It knows how to do all that stuff, and it added a test because it follows the pattern of other tests. That's the other thing. It's nice to, it looks, if there's existing tests, it'll follow a similar pattern. So, if you follow good hygiene in your project, then Goose can follow it as well. So yeah, that's kind of the GitHub action in a nutshell. And it's like, maybe I should show what it looks like to configure, like just curious.
Let's take a look at the actual thing. The
GitHub workflows, and then I've got a Goose Enhance one. Got the CI one, the Android beta flow is in there, and the Goose Enhance, and it's on labeled issues. And then, just if the label's Goose, then it, this is all stuff from the regular CI for this project, install dependencies. And then this is the meat of it. That's kind of it. So, and this is where in this case, it's using OpenAI. I often use Anthropic's Claude as a daily driver. In this case, I was using OpenAI. They both work quite well. There's tons and tons of different providers, but they're the most, most powerful ones. Not always the fastest, but the most powerful. So yeah, and this is the Goose configuration. So I told it, when an issue gets tagged, I want you to, do the issue. That's like, here's the issue body, here's the issue title. That's all it needs. I could give it some extra instructions here, and then to validate it,
run the
just
test.
some instructions on how to know. Like that's just a description. Like it might be like, I want you to run the tests, but also check that there's nothing in this directory, or check that the server starts or something like that, or hit this URL. It could be some validation step. So just to give it that feedback loop. So if it thinks it's completed, then this is the final step. And if it passes that, then it will open the PR if I've told it to.
I have a spicy question for you that you might not be ready for this. So, okay. Well, maybe it's not that spicy, but I think when I remember at GitHub, we had a tool. I don't know if they still have it or what, but it's like similar to this, where AI will like enable you to open PRs, or you opening up like AI enabled PRs. But some people feel very strongly, especially maintainers, they're like, this is just encourage like bad PRs or whatever. So I'm
spammy PRs.
Yeah, I'm curious from your perspective, how do we combat that? Or maybe you have a completely different perspective and you're like, that's not the case. Just
yeah, I mean, that's why I like it being in action, because you have to like do the work to put it in your workflow, and then you can have different criteria of whether you accept it or not. And if it can't satisfy that, then there's no noise, nothing happens, like you don't notice it. So it's just ambient. That's what I like about it. It's just like, it's not like Dependabot where there's 1,000 PRs that are like annoying and stuff like that. It's like, it's more meaningful, and it can decide also if it wants to take on an issue. Like you can have it like decide up front, like I can't tackle it. This is too complex for me. Need a person to do this. I've seen other people do that, not in an action, but from their own more local workflow. Is they will point it to a Jira backlog and have it choose ones that it knows it can do or thinks it can do, to stop wasting their and others' time. So yeah, it's a big, and that's, this is why it's like, this is kind of, experiment. Like Goose was more designed for that run on your desktop local interaction, but it's like, oh, actually this can work in a sandboxed environment as well, for projects that are well tested. So I thought that was it, and actually not hard to do. That's the other thing. Actions are really easy to do. They're hard to test, but easy to write.
Yeah, I love this. Yeah, no, I hate when I like keep editing an action and I'm just waiting for it to work. But I do
That's
love
right.
the implementation of using it as an action. And I agree with you that the fact that it's an action makes it be like you as the maintainer has to like kind of agree to be able to have this only open a PR if that case. I think we might have time for another demo, one more demo.
Yeah, one more. All right. Yeah, let me close this and
Well, I know you have three more, so I don't know.
No, that's fine. That's fine. Let's so here's it's related to the same project, but here's running Goose on the command line. So this is just raw command line, but in this case, it's going to be running in. Well, I should make that bigger. An iOS simulator. So I've got the. It's like this is the project we were just looking at, but in the GitHub Action. Let me maybe if I can fit them both together.
Yeah, but zoom in like 2 times more.
Okay. So this will run the test suites. So I'll just check that it's okay locally before I try anything, and then I'm going to have it started up in the simulator. And actually, yesterday I wouldn't show this ever live, but I had it sort out my local environment, which took maybe 45 minutes to an hour while I was having dinner, because like it had to update stuff in Xcode, download the right, iOS simulator and all this stuff that I didn't want to do because it just drives me wild. So, and then because I know, and then actually it was the night before, and then I got up in the morning and I had this running, which was nice because I wasn't able to get it working before that.
iOS. Ooh.
Yeah, I don't have to tell it. Don't have to tell it that, but just give it some. So this will it'll pop up, or it might actually tell me, you have to run it yourself, because it can run it in the background. If it's a long running shell, it checks on it. So, yep, it doesn't want to run it, so that's okay. I'll run it here.
Yeah, zoomed in.
Sorry, I'll just squeeze this over. I thought that was.
That's okay.
Yeah, so it'll open over here. It'll just have to do the Xcode build. So I'll have it open here. So exciting to watch Xcode build, isn't it? While we're doing that, let's have it. I would say, please.
Yeah, got just nice to the AI, just in case.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, one day they'll remember that, and okay, where's Xcode here? It's on my other screen. There we go. It's opening now.
Cool.
And okay, so it's opening, and in the meantime, yeah, it's opened in Xcode, which is nice because like I can't be bothered finding where the project is and clicking on the right thing. So yeah, anyway, I've got it in Xcode. I can run things on Xcode. I'll get that out of the way because it's so confusing. Okay, so let's one option is I could tell it to look at a GitHub issue and try to fix it. So I could tell it from the command line, it will reach out and look at stuff, pull it down from GitHub and do it, just kind of like that other one. But in this case, let's try doing a more live. So I'll it'll then look around. It knows a bit about the structure of it, again from the hints file, but also browsing around, knowing that it's
a tumbleweed zone, no transactions here.
Yeah, so sometimes, usually I'll tell it in the hints to like run the test loop continuously, because often, there'll be some localization failure or something like that. I'll have to iterate around a few times. And being in a simulator, let's see if it's changed it. If I do R to reload, if it reloads.
Fingers crossed.
Or is it still editing?
Yes, that's still responding. This is really cool though.
Yeah, I'll cancel that and just let it run here for a while. So yeah, so it's fixing up the code, running the tests. And I've used this before, like visually, like to like move this thing from here. It takes a bit longer, to down there. Like it, knows the structure of the code to move things around. Another, I don't have time to show it, but if you have like a Figma design over here, you could say, I want it to look like the screen on the left. And if it has enough context, it can try to make the changes to meet the design. It's not really optimized for that, and I think the models will get better over time at understanding that. But it can do that. So yeah, it's Xcode being slow on my machine. So
and your video too. So that sometimes I don't know, but like I feel like that slows stuff down.
The what does? Sorry.
Like when I screen share on a StreamYard.
Oh right, yeah. It's using a lot of yeah. It's Xcode is like hard mode. So all right, so it thinks it's noisy, but we'll see if it works. But anyway, you get the idea. That's kind of Goose, and in a nutshell. So
awesome.
We at time? How are we doing for time?
Yeah, I think I mean, do you feel like you want to do one more thing, or you're good?
Yeah, what else did I have to
You had the web crawler.
Oh yeah. All right. That's a fun one. I'll just terminate this and get rid of that.
I feel like we could squeeze it in because we have maybe 10 more-ish minutes, and I'll tell people a little bit about like how they can get involved or contribute. But we had a couple of comments where people were saying like this looks really cool, including Angie and Tanya. So good job.
I'm gonna use throw pick this time for fun. That's just not my default, but
and zoom in just a smidge, please.
How's that?
Yeah, cool.
In Python, what is it? No, Puppeteer, no, play. So this will create, again, a new project in this directory. It could be an existing one, and away we go. So it's going to work out how to install things. I mean, I could tell it to use whatever Python tool or a virtual environment. Usually it works out the right thing to do, because I always forget exactly what commands and invocations. I get really lazy and I'll use it to do Git stuff as well. Like to, if I have to pull it, resolve some merge commits, conflicts or something, I'll have it look at it and do it.
That's smart.
I've had it look at changes through the GitHub history and go, I want to do something like this, but in this area, or anything that's kind of a toil stuff. I'll try it. Like one of the first things I did was open telemetry with it, because I'd never really used open telemetry, and
Yeah.
anytime I tried to read about it, I get really bored. So I didn't really want to, read all the documents and what dependency and how. So I said, can you just wire in some simple stuff here? Okay, so it's done it now, and it's done some tests with it. So this is an example one because I'm still working on how to make Goose actually open websites and log in.
Awesome.
So a lot of things that are, I could Google how to do it, but it's like, why not just have it do this at a screen on the side and let it kind of be, take the wheel a bit. It's like semi-autonomous driving, but often like that, you have to take control. Like if it goes in the wrong direction, you can press Control C and interrupt it at any point and correct it. It's like, actually, no, don't do that, do this. And you often do that if you're working on an existing code base. It's like you can see it's going in the wrong direction and you tell it to stop and try over here, or, so it becomes a collaborative sort of thing. Try this, try that, or so I use a bunch of approaches. I might have a ChatGPT window open where I'm having it use that new, that really slow O1 preview model. It just came out.
I don't like
the other
it.
week.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I've crashed my Anthropic. Yeah, I've used my that happens. It doesn't often happen with let's
When you say you crashed it, you mean like you used all the
I think sometimes I run out of tokens for mine. So I'm going to switch over to
OpenAI or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll see if it hasn't broken so yes, web.
And that's one thing to note to people that you can, I think you kind of did note that, but like you can use OpenAI or
Yeah.
Claude or whatever LLM that you prefer in your
Yeah, that's right. It's usually they're all good. You can run. We're on the cusp of running them locally. Like there's a few emerging, very code-centric models that some friends of mine have been working and playing with. That you can run almost like if I what's it called? I've got it set up.
Oh no.
Oh no, I don't have it running. I don't have Alama running. Alama is like a local like way of running different LLMs.
Okay.
I'll try to give you something really easy to use. So you can see it's actually, people think, oh, if you run it locally, it'll be really fast because there's no network. It's like, well, the bottleneck is not the network anymore. The bottleneck is the AI machinery. So yeah, it comes back. There's nothing in here, but it's just that they're not as smart as the big models because my machine isn't. This is a M1 Pro Mac, so it's not up to the task of running the full size models yet. But give it a year, give it 2 years, it'll be fine. So yeah, there's lots of configuration options I haven't shown and different models that use, but mostly you just say Goose and have it try something for you. That's kind of it, and it will keep trying as long as it can and as long as you want it to, and yeah, that's kind of it. Okay. I do have a I won't show it. We'll put some links in, but there is a experimental browser extension that I've been using because I like to use that ChatGPT one, and then I click on that when I've done my research, and then it jumps over to Goose and then takes that context with it, so it can actually write and execute code. And I like that because I use the voice mode in the ChatGPT app on my phone in the car. And I'll have a conversation with it about an idea. And then I get home, open that session in the browser, and then press the Goose button, and then see if things actually execute. So that's how I've been learning Rust and other things that I don't know. So yeah.
That's so cool. We were talking about using AI to learn Rust in like a Twitter space I did with like Kendall and them.
Hmm.
And I think, I mean, I would love for you to come back in the future, like maybe in a couple of weeks or a month or something, to kind of show off the browser extension. I do want to highlight some things to people. Seen a lot of people tuned in, at least on the Twitter side. So if you're interested in like getting more involved in this tool or just using it in general, we have github.com/block open source or block dash open dash source slash goose. You can install the project there, and then I think you're pulling it up as well. Yep. The repository, you can try it out. We have some documentation being built out. There's a couple of issues in there as well if you want to continue to add to the documentation. We also have our plugins repository that has a couple of issues as well. They need some love. Like I added some issues on adding a couple more toolkits for like Asana and different task trackers. Maybe adding a API provider for Google Gemini and stuff like that. So that would be awesome. And then if you wanted to check out the VS Code extension that Mick made, it's at github.com/square/goose-VS Code. And then the very last one is the GitHub action that you made called Goose AI Developer Agent. So I'll put it in like the description for my YouTube and stuff like that. But for people, and then I guess I'll reply on my Twitter, like for whatever you posted it. But yeah.
If people are interested in toolkits, yeah, that's something you could go into another time, because that's a lot of this works behind the scenes. I didn't show that because you don't have to know as toolkits. So it knows how to do certain things, like it knows how to talk to, we use it for our Jira. I can't show that because it's got proprietary information, but you know, it can examine Jira, which I find much easier than using Jira, and you know, other tools like that. And yeah, people have been looking at doing things for Figma and all sorts of cool stuff. It's very easy to make a toolkit, because it's just really giving it a bit of direction. But yeah, we didn't have time to show that, but just want to, you know, see if people can play with the basics, and you know, if it's useful or not. Then yeah, cool.
Yeah, thank you so much again, Mick, for just basically giving your time. I know it's early in the morning for you, so
no, it was 8 a.m. So that's not early.
That's early for me.
No.
Wait, I don't
This
want
side
to.
of the world, we start early. It's like it's good, and it's Friday. It is Friday, so
Oh,
that's
cool.
good.
You could chill after. Right?
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a necessarily stream ending screen for this one, for this particular live stream, but thank you so much, folks, for tuning in. I hope it was interesting for you. I'm going to try to keep doing more of these where we learn more about different open source AI tools, most particularly Goose. But thank you again. I don't know if there's any last things you wanted to add, Mick, but
yeah, it's I don't know if I guess it was implicit. It's like it's open source, Apache licensed. And you know, as are all the other things, of course. So you know, it's something we're big fans of, obviously open source. And you know, even personally, I love, you know, throughout history, our short history, you know, developer tools always end up open source. Like that's the longest living ones. And I think it's great to see open source projects pop up, and you know, hat tip to all the people that work on them, and even companies like Microsoft for making VS Code open source. I think that's been a great gift to the industry. Like it's a wonderful tool, a wonderful platform. I enjoy using it. I enjoy building for it. So, you know, there's a lot of people doing good stuff, and you know, I think open source is the place to do it. Love it.
we love open source, and especially open source AI. Tanya said, lovely stream. All right, y'all. I'll see you at another time. Thank you so much, Mick. Bye.
Bye.